Right, now then, Christian Science. Alright, we've had JWs, and what are the things that connect these two? Well, basically, medicine and healing. And of course both have been prosecuted in their time for negligence, criminal negligence, in murders of people who've not attended physicians because their religious body, the JWs of Christian Science, says you should not. Second thing about this is that there is nothing Christian about them. Their focus and emphasis is upon themselves. It is the church, the physical building, and the doctrines that these founders bring in. It's like popery. There's nothing different. All roads, after all, lead to Rome, the Antichrist. The focus is always on the founder and the church and its setup. Nothing of heaven, nothing of the Church of Christ. She that is founded upon the lines of justification by faith. Always pointing to God and to Christ and to the Holy Spirit. The author and finisher of her salvation. The very one who has created her. She that also owns the term and the title New Jerusalem, the bride of Christ. Now then, a third thing with these religions, false religions, pseudo-religions, created of hell. Oh, the penmanship has come from hell. Oh, they've sat around in the kingdom of the devil and penned all that is corrupt and wrong and deceitful, lying, wicked and evil. Only evil continuously. And of course, we've got the pseudo-Christian, so-called, setups. Now, Christian Science. Mary Morse Baker Eddy. That's her full title. Mary Morse Baker. Sorry. She became Eddy when she married Eddie, her sixth husband. Right, she began, we cannot find a date, but it's in the 1800s. She was born into a Protestant Congregationalist family. And through life, she began her wayward decline, down and down and down into wickedness. Utter wickedness. Now, Christian Science, let us not be ignorant, belongs to the mystic, metaphysical family of the new religions of the 1800s, the 19th century, okay? Amidst the industrial and agrarian revolution. that saw children down pits, children in mills, children used as slave labour up the chimneys. Slave labour. You see, government, the United Kingdom for one, parliamentarians loved slavery. Cheap workers. So they imported slavery through the ports of England like Liverpool. But they didn't stop there, because from that they could empty as much as possible the orphanages and have the children as slaves to the manufacturing industry that was growing. Textiles, the mines, 16-18 hour days. Slavery. It was not just confined to the continent of the likes of Africa, in which tribal leaders were selling before the so-called white man came along. The tribal leaders were selling their people, because they said they owned their people, to one another in slavery. They were in slavery, and then they introduced it to Western so-called civilization. Civilization. Dear me. Anyhow, it was in this period of the agrarian and industrial revolution that everything got turned upside down. Every standard, every way of life got thrown upside down. The world was turned upside down. It was in revolution. There was wars and rumours of wars. The whole thing just erupted. We can't even begin to imagine the time in which the likes of Christian Science arose from the pit. Mormonism rose from the pit. The JWs rose from the pit. The Brethren movement rose from the pit. The Irvingite movement rose from the pit. The Millennialist movement rose from the pit. The Spiritualist movement rose from the pit. And we can go on and on and on. The spirit of these demonic organisations was already in the world, in a very small way. But in the 1800s, the chains were loosed and they went off in all directions with the world and turned the world into the darkest place that has ever been seen in the history of time since Calvary. Satanic times, satanic mills, Satan on the loose, and yet still chained, but not released. You see, he was on the loose but not released. He was loose, the chains were slackened. To turn the world upside down. The devil cannot be unchained, as the millennialists, his friends, tell us, because Christ holds the chains. He came back from Calvary, leading captivity captive. Within the hypostatic union, Jesus Christ, the Lord, the only begotten Son of God, God of very God, the maker of all things and sustainer of all things, the uplifter of all things, descended in the hypostatic union. and took the fight to the enemy. On that field, no wonder there was silence for around half an hour. Because the enemy, all the forces of darkness that turned that period into darkness, and the head of them, all evil, Satan, stood there waiting. They thought, oh, the princes have delivered Christ and had him crucified. Oh, if they'd only known. But when Christ descended in the hypostatic union, whilst the Arminians are looking on and saying, hopeless, hopeless, he can't even save himself. Come down if you can save yourself. It's hopeless. There's Christ there nailed on the cross, says the Arminian. There he is, shedding his blood for the world. They don't see behind the man. They don't see really and truly the divinity. And that the battle of Armageddon was engaged that day. And the devil and his armies were outnumbered. And that they stood and their tongues silenced. And what a sight it must have been. Silence. For around half an hour, as they say, as the scriptures say. Truth stood there. And when Christ raised the banner of righteousness, the armies of hell, of the kingdom of hell, fled. And we can read about it in Joel. And Christ went after them, and the chariots of salvation charged after them, and all that was holy and just and right was there seen. Justification, chasing the enemy off the field of battle. And Christ came back more than triumphant, leading captivity captive, and gave gifts unto men, and that gifts were reflective of the New Testament. Mary Morse, Baker Eddy, and the rest of these evil machinations of the devil are not interested. Are not interested. Mary Morse Baker Eddy was the founder, of course, of that misnomer, the Christian Science movement. Okay, Christian Science. And of course her paper, the Monitor, the Christian Monitor, and the Reading Rooms. Now we're continuing to talk about the 1800s, okay? And again, when all the world was at its throats, all the world was absolutely satanic. And this fake religion rose up, and this sort of fake religion, and so on and so on and so forth. Out of it, of course, we must not forget, there was that side of genuine thinking, genuine poetry, genuine music. Medicine was in its infancy. So we got a certain amount of good. And isn't that norm? The norm when we look at this world? You know, when a politician or a government does evil, it's not total. Oh, they love to get it total. but God intervenes, and there's a little good there. Just a little good, despite men, you see, despite the wicked man, there's a little bit of good. And in the horrendous times of the Industrial and Agrarian Revolution, there was always seen a little bit of good. Dickens said, that adulterer, "'Tis the best of times and the worst of times." And of course, the worst of times was predominant. And because of this, the Mary Morse Baker Eddies and the JWs and the Mormons and the like always got more attendance. Even neo-evangelicalism, the Moody's, the Finneys, etc., got more attendance by the people because the people were looking for friendship, something to take them away from the evil, psychological destruction of their own selves, of society. This is where you get your false medicine men and all the rest of them joining alongside. Experimenting on people, doctors not understanding what the mental state was because they concentrated and believed that the man was just simply flesh, blood, bones and being. And that's what Arminianism teaches. Except it uses the soul, the word soul, for the physical being. Okay? And this soul can put his trust in Christ, you see. And so, we had a state that is unbelievable. Mental state, financial state, physical state. We can't even begin to believe the state of things in those days. It's all culminated in the First World War, didn't it? 1914, 1918, stroke 19 war. Okay? But from the 1800s to the beginning of the 1900s, 1902 in fact, there was over 200 wars within that period fought. There was an explosion. Times of evil were there. The devil, it was the devil's day. And his influence has carried on. He's been pulled back, but his influence has carried on and grows day by day by day by day. Now, Mary Morse Baker Eddy was indeed the founder of the misnomer of Christian Science, who taught that science, the science of invoking prayer to heal people. It's all about prayer. Those days it was all about prayer. You got to go to prayer. You haven't got to do anything physical. You're going to just go pray and get a prayer warrior. Okay, on your side. Oh, you got a prayer warrior. You'll be alright. You get a moolah, and you get a moody, and you get a finny. Oh, you'll be alright. Even though they weren't right with God themselves. Okay. Oh yes, you could cure it with prayer. And that sickness was an illusion. Oh yeah, if you're sick, if you get a stomachache, it's an illusion. It's all of the mind. What you got to do, you see, according to Mary Morse Baker Eddy, is change your mind. Get positive thoughts. I mean, if you're bleeding to death, you're not bleeding to death. No. It's all in the mind. Got cancer? No, that's all in the mind. Well, how come you got it and died from it, Mary? If it's all in your mind, you're the expert. You should have read it from your mind, shouldn't you? Hey? And because of this, it's all in the mind. You don't take medication. You don't take medication. Where have we heard this before? Where have we heard this spirit speaking before? Examine the spirits to see if they be of God. 1 John chapter 4 verse 1. Have we heeded that? Examine the spirits. There are many spirits behind people. All right. One person can have many spirits. Mary Morse Baker Eddy had this mischievous spirit, that you should not take medicine. Pentecostalism, Azusa Pentecostalism, same spirit. Charismata, the same spirit. Pseudo-Protestantism in many ways has the same spirit. Arminianism in its quarters again has the same spirit. And they say that medicine is of the devil, opens the way to the devil. And people have suffered. And who's saying it? Not those that are suffering, because those that suffer take the piggy medicine. Oh, they're first to the medicine cabinet, they're first to the doctors, they're first to the hospitals. But they've been preaching from their pulpits and interacting with people. Oh, you don't take medicine. You hypocrites. Total hypocrites. Oh, yes. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Central theme of their lives. Me, me, me. Is it? Of course it is. And what is it? Your church? You and your church and your pastor and all this business? Gods. There's no Christianity in this. That's all of the devil. All of the devil. Not taking medicine? How many people do we know that have to take medicine, they've stopped their medicine and they've gone wayward? You vile, vile people that follow this Christian Science and the rest of them, this